Welcome to Grey County Life. I'm JC Coutts.
I'm Sarah Caramichael. Joining us on today's episode, we will have Dianne Speed from Special Olympics Owen Sound. We'll also be talking to Lauren Best about the upcoming Owen Sound Memoir series. And Renee, of course, will be joining us with an animal that is looking for a forever home. How has the snow been treating you?
It's been rough since winter decided to arrive all in a few days last week. It's been tough. My landlord said when we moved in that snow removal was taken care of, and I noticed that he left a snowblower at the house, but in the course of like 3 days last week, it hadn't moved. No snow had been removed, and I, with an afternoon off, thought, you know what? I can do this. Problem is, I've never used a snowblower before, a gas-powered one. I had an electric battery-powered one when I lived in Alberta because that was all you needed there. Here, you need the gas one. So I YouTubed how to start a snowblower. Both of the first two instructions were electric start snowblowers, which I did not have an extension cord to do. And both of the snowblowers in the how-to videos were missing the pull start. So I knew that was going to be a problem. Eventually got it to go, discovered the auger doesn't work. So I have a powered snowblower that will move forward and push snow, but it will not blow it. So I gave up and I went back and got a beer.
That's why your landlord gave that one to you.
I think so, yeah.
It doesn't work.
Somebody must have said something to them because the next day I woke up and it was all cleaned.
Oh.
So maybe I'm sure one of the neighbors was watching and laughing.
I was about to say, there is a video on YouTube somewhere. It's called Guy Can't Run Snowblower. And it's just you.
This process was about an hour of me standing in blowing snow in my driveway with my phone like this, trying to, what, lever? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It was embarrassing.
Well, my snow clearing wasn't nearly as eventful because it's just 2 feet, a heartbeat, and a shovel. That's basically it. That's our snow clearing, is me doing this. I will say I'm very thankful to the people that take time to clear the sidewalk in front of their homes. A lot of people don't, which you will discover when you're walking your dogs and you're trudging through the snow, and it can be very hard on the legs, you know, trying to get yourself through the large amounts of snow. So when you come in front of a house that they've taken the time to actually clear that sidewalk, you're very thankful. So keep up the good work if you're someone that does that. Also, something to keep in mind too is if you have a fire hydrant in front of or near your property, it is kind of expected that you try to keep that as clear as possible too, so that if there is a problem and the fire department does need to access that hydrant, they can easily get to it. So that is something I noticed in my neighborhood too, was someone had cleared the path all around it. So I was like, good for you for being a good citizen. But yeah.
Dare I start the rant about properly brushing your car off?
Oh gosh, we'd be here all day.
We'd be here all day.
Because people don't do it. They just don't do it. I understand the idea that it's annoying. I get that it's cold out and that it's windy and that it's blustery. So start your car and let it run for a little bit. And a lot of that snow on the windshield, on the back window will have melted off, right? You take advantage of that. But I know a lot of people, you see them and it looks like they just got in and go. Like they didn't even take a minute to, you know, brush off the mirrors on their sides of their car. Like everything is just covered in snow and it's just so unsafe. And also it's really dangerous because if you've got snow or ice, you know, chunks of snow could fly off your car onto the car behind you. I know that your wife had that experience, but when Livy, you guys were in Alberta, a big chunk of ice flew off when she's on the highway and smashed her windshield. Yep,
we had to buy a new windshield that day, and luckily she was okay. Everything was fine, but in some cases, the windshields aren't able to stop the ice, and they do go through, and people do get injured. And it's just because someone didn't take that extra time, or maybe bought that extendable brush to get the snow on the roof. Like, it's so important that you do it. I spent an extra 5 minutes down both vehicles the other day doing it to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, my only thing that I'm running into currently is that I clear my snow off, and then I put my snow brush either in the back seat or in the trunk, and then I go to get my snow brush and it's frozen because it's still covered in snow, and then it sits in a cold car. So then the whole snow brush is like frozen. And so I'm still trying to use it, and I'm afraid I'm going to scratch the crap out of my car because it's literally like a solid mass that I'm using to try and brush the snow off. So I think it might be the universe telling me that I need to get a new snow brush.
It sounds like
the one I have is pretty ancient, if I'm being honest. I want to get one that is like, have you seen them? It's like a rectangle made out of foam, and it like pushes the snow.
Those are the best.
Ryan has one for his truck, and I don't know how I don't have one. I've told him like 15 times that I've admired his snow brush, like hint, hint, wink, wink, get your girl a snow brush, but he hasn't fallen for it yet, so I think I'm going to have to go find my own.
That the foamy thing, that's what you see the guys at the car lots using, because it's fast and it doesn't scratch the paint.
Right.
I asked one of them one day, I said, why don't you just use like a big brush, get like with one of those big brooms that you would use around the shop? He's like, that'll scratch the crap out of it, man, and no one will want to buy it then.
No one wants to buy a new car that's already got all these scratches on it, for sure. That's smart. But yeah, I said, for the most part, I've been okay with the snow. I mean, I'm lucky I don't have to drive too far most of the time, and I'm just kind of around town. But you do a lot more driving than I do on the highways, and so I can imagine you've had some interesting experiences.
Last week, I did something I've never done before. I turned back and went back home. I saw 2 fresh cars in the ditch, and the highway was open. The buses were running, but it was not safe. And I've never turned back before, but I learned in a moment then it's just not worth the risk. So I hope that everybody maybe has that moment of clarity that I had the other morning, and it goes, you know what, if you don't feel safe and you're seeing people are in trouble, and in both cases the OPP quickly got to both of those drivers in the ditch, but yeah, sometimes it's just good to stay home because it's just safe there, and that's where your Netflix is.
And that's where your snacks are, and maybe your cat and or dog.
Yes.
It's the better place to be, I agree. And yeah, I tell people that all the time. If you're not comfortable, if you're nervous driving, just stay at home because it's better there anyway. It's too people-y out there.
That's right. And that's where you might be right now. And stay tuned if you're watching, because coming up, we've got a busy show. Renee's going to be here in a little bit. We'll chat with Lauren Best about the upcoming Owen Sound Memoir series at the library. And next, we're going to learn more about the Owen Sound Special Olympics with Dianne Speed, coming up on Grey County Life.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
With clubs, leagues, and courts in every province and territory across Canada, squash is the sport for wall-to-wall fun, fitness, and friendship. From coast to coast to coast. Learn to play, and you'll want to do it every day. Squash. Play inside the box.
This is a man's heart. A heart in desperate need of medical attention. But because 78% of Indigenous people experience racism in healthcare, he may not get the help he needs. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Welcome back to Grey County Life. Our guest is Dianne Speed. She is the Vice Chair of Owen Sound Special Olympics Chapter. Dianne, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, we're happy to have you. I know that we have a number of very talented Special Olympics athletes here in the community. So tell us, what are some of the sports that they play?
We're actually lucky because we have a vast variety of sports here in Owen Sound. Ranges anywhere. We have winter sports as well as summer and spring sports too, which is great. We cross-country skiing and snowshoeing, bocce, basketball, soccer, and everything else. We keep widening our sports and keep bringing them into as much as we can.
Awesome.
That's amazing. How many athletes fall under Owen Sound Special Olympics?
We're sitting almost 200 athletes here in Owen Sound. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, that participate. Some will participate in more than one sport. Mm-hmm. Some will strictly stick to their favorite sport. But other than that, it's been really good that athletes really take care of each other and include each other in each of the sports. So it's been really good.
And I know that the biggest thing to talk about is there's going to be a big games in Calgary next month. There are a number of athletes going. I know that one of our Rogers TV volunteers, Martin, is going. He's a bowler and he's very excited about it.
He is. So I think it's Special Olympics. To me, Calgary Games has opened up to athletes that can't go anywhere, right? Some athletes don't get to go anywhere. And Martin is now going to Calgary, which is a place he might have experienced, he might not have, but it's opened up his world. And it also puts him into the community. It allows him to be proud of what he's doing and feel like he's going to the Olympics because that's the way they treat. Special Olympics, when they go to nationals and provincials and world games, they get treated like they are kings and queens. And they get walked on, just like the Olympics. Special Olympics does the same thing. They do a big torch run. So it's huge for these athletes when they get to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Years and years ago, I actually volunteered with a Special Olympics event here at Owen Sound.
Right, yes.
A friend of mine was part of like a committee or something, and so she recruited me, and I was assigned to a group of athletes, and my assignment was to make sure they got to their races on time and to make sure that that they got all hyped up and excited for competition. And it's definitely an exciting time for these athletes. They were all just like beside themselves with excitement.
It is. It's just brings the joy out of them because they get to be proud of what they're doing and they get to express it. And it doesn't matter what they look like, what they do, what's wrong with them. They get to be themselves, which is very important.
How many athletes will get to go to Calgary for the games next month?
Well, there's going to be over 4,000 participants, coaches, athletes, visitors, and everything else that will be coming. Here from Owen Sound, we're lucky because we've got a few. Martin is going to be going. Amy Gilchrist, and I'm just going to look at my notes so I don't want to miss anyone. Amy Gilchrist and Dwayne, they're going to be representing Saugeen in curling. Martin's going to be doing bowling. Norma Brenner is going to be a coach for bowling. I'm going for Nordic skiing. Michael Bailey is from South Saugeen, so he will be representing our area.
That's amazing.
It is, yes.
Now, I know that Martin he's been doing some fundraising, and I'm sure the athletes are all doing some fundraising.
Yes.
How much money is needed to send the team to Calgary?
So what we've done is each athlete is designated an amount, which was $1,400 to be able for an athlete to raise, to be able to go. It gives them partnership in it. It gives them a learning, gets them out into the community and helps. And then also now it's theirs, right? They own it. We get funded by the torch runs, all the Special Olympics fundraisers, the plunge that we do here in Owen Sound, the law enforcement torch run is another big fundraiser. Tim Hortons, they're having a special donut day, which is February the 2nd to the 4th, is another big fundraiser. So we have all these fundraisers that happen that help take the athletes to these events, and then the athletes only have to raise a portion of some of the money. Each provincial games, they raise a little bit. National games, they have to raise a little bit more, and world games, they raise a bit more. But the community councils also help, and some of the sports clubs also help them out to help raise that money. But Martin went out into the community and raised his own money, which was awesome, and he was able to go above and beyond. And sometimes the above and beyond money will help that athlete that doesn't know how to get out into the community and get that support. So we're lucky to have that, to be able to do it.
Absolutely. It's really, fostering that idea of we are a team.
Yeah.
And we look out for each other, we take care of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other sport that's going, I forgot to mention, is snowshoeing. We have Jessica, which is one of the coaches that will be representing snowshoeing from Owen Sound too, which is good too. So the coaches are there. They take care of the athletes. We're all designated 3 to 4 athletes. We take care of them. We make sure they get there on time. And then overall, they get to just enjoy themselves, have fun. There's going to be an event pretty much every evening So the athletes are tired and exhausted by the time they come back from their events. So, yeah.
I've been quizzing Martin about Calgary because I've been to Calgary a few times, and
Okay.
I know this is going to be his first visit, so I've been asking him, are you going to get to go to the Saddle Dome? Are you going to get to see a Flames game? So hopefully, I know the schedules might not line up, but it's great to know that there's something for them every day. They're going to get to experience so much.
Yeah, so the first big event is the opening ceremonies, where we all get escorted in, the athletes get to march in. Then we'll have our game day, we'll have our practice day, we'll have our game day. We participate, and then sometimes we come back in the evenings and there'll be games and things that they can do, participate, there'll be movies. Then we go on to the next day and we do competition. At the end of our season, we have the closing ceremonies. And then the big thing after the closing ceremonies is the big dance. The athletes love to get out and dance and just be themselves, put the music on, and they just love to be themselves, which is the best thing.
That sounds like it's going to be an amazing time.
Yes.
If people want to support Special Olympics and any of the individual athletes in any way, I think, is there an online option for them to do that?
There is, yes. They can go on to the Special Olympics website and look up an athlete. They go under National Games. They can look up an athlete and then they put donation and they can donate to whichever athlete they do. We also have law enforcement that will sponsor an athlete too, so they will do that. So lots of opportunity to be able to help an athlete out, to be able to go and keep us going. Special Olympics is we try not to charge too much, so we want them to be able to go and experience lots.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as the competitors, like how would one get involved with Special Olympics, like becoming an athlete?
So again, you can go onto the Special Olympics website and break it down into communities. You'll find the different communities and different cities that have different events. You click on the city that you're in, scroll down, find what community is offering what sport, and then you can just register it up. Or find me at the Y if you're here in On Sound, and you can also find some of our other board members that are here in On Sound, and you can sign up that way and we'll guide you to whichever way we're going.
I imagine that's the route to go to if you're thinking about becoming a volunteer, maybe a volunteer coach. You're a coach yourself, so
yes, yeah.
What is the pathway for coaches then that want to volunteer?
Same thing. Going onto the website, click the link of volunteering, find the community that you want to volunteer in, and then also put down the sport that you would like to be, or you can do multiple sports. Which is doing it. I've been lucky, I've been coaching for 30 years and it's been one of my biggest things that I enjoy the most, and I'm so glad that I signed up. So we're hoping that other coaches, volunteers, people that just have some spare time, come and check us out and look for us here in On Sound.
Yeah, and I know that sometimes you'll also get parents of the athletes that will volunteer. I know Kevin and Dianne.
Yes.
So I know Kevin coaches the basketball team that Dianne plays on, and he said that, it's great for him, it's great for her, and it's just all around a really great experience. So that's probably something fairly common too, that the parents will step in.
Exactly, yeah, the parents will step in and help out when we're short. We've been really lucky this year to bring in a youth basketball, and it's the first time in On Sound that we've actually run a youth basketball program, and it is really going well. And you can also check out on Facebook. We are on Facebook too, and if you look up Special Olympics On Sound Facebook page, there's lots of little videos, photos of the different teams that are going on that you can take us a look at too.
And as far as like spectators, let's say there's a basketball game going on, would it be open to people that want to just come in from the community to watch? Or
we don't. Only if we do big events, right? So we open it up to spectators. Practices, we don't open it up to spectators, but if we have a big event, we encourage the parents and everyone else to come out and watch the big events. Last year, I hosted the provincial qualifier, and we opened it up at the Y that we could have spectators come in and actually see the athletes coming and bring grandparents and their parents to come. Yeah.
You mentioned some upcoming fundraising opportunities. Tim Hortons is doing a special donut in a couple weeks?
Yes, Tim Hortons is doing a Special Olympics donut. And it's going to be on the weekend of February the 2nd to the 4th, and you can go in and that money will go to Special Olympics. Some of the money stays here in the community and some of it will go to Ontario and go that way.
They've done that before.
Yes, they have.
I've definitely had a Special Olympics donut.
I feel there was a morning you brought a few into the station.
Yeah, a few into
a
the
box
station,
of them,
absolutely.
Yes.
I always encourage people to go out and get them and bring them into their workplace and have fun with the donuts and take pictures and show them that you're doing it. But yeah. And then the polar plunge, we're just waiting to see if it's actually going to happen. It's another big fundraiser, and we've had a couple of our athletes. Amy Gilchrist has gone in and she's raised lots of money to be able to go into the polar plunge, and she goes and gets dressed up and goes in on behalf of the athletes, which has been awesome.
Have you ever done a polar plunge?
I have wanted to do it, and I've been told this is the year to do it because the lake hasn't frozen over.
Correct,
So this might be the year where you don't super freeze super quickly. But
That's exactly
Right.
Yeah. Mark Perry, our producer, just said he's done it 5 times now, and it's not any better if there's because the lake's not frozen over.
No, it is not. No,
Cold
it's
is
that
cold.
Shock of going in. Yes. Yeah. I know I've been asked for the athletes to do it, but I'm a lifeguard and I know what that cold water can do to me.
Right?
So I kind of back off on it a little bit. But I did promise 1 year I will do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and being a lifeguard, they need you on the sidelines
Totally.
in case.
That's how I'm going to hold it.
Right. I would say it's my responsibility to ensure that everyone else is safe.
That's right.
You guys go freeze.
Yes. Yeah. No, it is too.
You mentioned too the law enforcement torch run is
Yes.
another big fundraising event for Special Olympics, and law enforcement and Special Olympics have always had a long-standing relationship. What's the relationship like here in Owen Sound with the local law enforcement?
It is really good. Last year we brought it back again, so it has been not through our community for a little bit because of COVID and everything else. We're hoping to start that back up again. We're trying to get it to go. We had it go to I believe it went to the track and field, and they ran the torch up to the school, and where they were going to have it, they have done it there. So it'll be just something to look forward to, and stay tuned that we can let you know. And then please sponsor Special Olympics when the torch run comes around, or when you see a law enforcement officer, just thank them for doing it, because we're certainly blessed that they keep us going.
Is there a typical time of year that the torch run would normally happen?
We try to do it around the springtime
Okay.
and the summertime, so it's in that area. We just have not heard the dates yet, so it's up to them, and then they'll come and contact us, and we'll get it going.
Perfect.
On that way. Yeah.
All right. Any other ways that, actually, we should probably just ask if there are other opportunities for people that want to help, current opportunities, whether it's board memberships or coaching opportunities where there are shortages, because we hear that there are shortages for volunteers in every aspect.
Yes.
What are the immediate needs of Special Olympics Owen Sound?
So here in Owen Sound, we offer a community council. So we have a community council that takes care of all the sports. And we just finished our AGM yesterday. But we're always looking for extra people to come onto the board and represent either a parent liaison or an athlete liaison. We always need those extra people. We're still kind of looking for another vice chair so that we have 2 people. We have now filled our position for the president and the committee chair that's going to go. We meet once a month. Every 3rd Tuesday we meet, and then we have a little bit of meeting, talk about the athletes, talk about the upcoming sports. Each of the coaches give a report on what they're doing. So please, approach us in any way. We would love to have as many volunteers as we can. And we have a great sports technical person that comes in, and she loves to be challenged on starting up a new sport here in Owen Sound, which is Barb King. And if you can look her up and try, say, I need it. Her husband, Ed Muir, is our volunteer representative. So you can also check out for Ed, and he's our volunteer representative that will help you guide you in getting there too.
You mentioned new sports and starting new sports. Are there any that you've had athletes inquire about? Is like, hey, can we get this program going for this sport?
Yep. Yeah, the basketball definitely was the one. We're still having a little issue of getting soccer programs going. In the summertime, our softball team, we didn't have enough athletes, so we weren't able to run. So some of the summer sports, we need a little bit more encouragement and a little more time for athletes to be able to come and join us. And even give us feedback. Maybe the day is not working, and maybe there's another day that we can look at. But if there's athletes out there that want to join the summer sports, these are the numbers that we would love to build up. We're going, swimming is going, and lots of the other sports are getting bigger and bigger, but we would love to promote more of our summer sports and keep them going.
What's the age range for softball, for example? You mentioned that's one sport that you're trying to add more athletes to.
And different sports have different age groups. We offer a T-ball program, which is anywhere from age 8 to almost, I would say teenage. All depends on their ability, and then we can go from teenage up to adults for the softball team. Swimming, we advertise from 8 up only because they go into competitions, but I'm always willing to go a little bit younger and open it up, open the doors, and be able to allow them to come in and swim and try it out.
You mentioned as based on ability assessment. Is that something that the coaches do? They do ability assessments to try to best figure out where this athlete is going to fit in?
Yeah, so there's different challenge, like T-ball would be athletes that are just coming into the program, learning their ability, being able to catch a ball, play a ball. Sometimes they can't play with the adults because they just can't catch a ball properly or they can't run properly. So it still gives them, or hit a ball properly. So we adapt to their skill and adapt to what they can do, and then try to place them to where they're best going to be.
Mm-hmm. And then I imagine too that all of those, that just sets up goals. Like, we're going to make sure that athlete gets to that point where they're going to catch that ball and they're going to make contact with that. So it's a lot of working, I guess, one-on-one to make sure that they get to that level.
Yeah, and that's where we sometimes need the extra volunteers to do that one-on-one. Sometimes a coach will have, and we do a 4-to-1 ratio. So we try to keep to our ratio numbers and be able to do that. But having extra volunteers and even parents that want to just step out and say, hey, I can help out for a little bit. We still have to go through the volunteer process of registering the volunteer, making sure they take these safe sport programs and concussion programs, but being able to come on and just help us out would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I think it's mostly online courses. Like, there's a respecting course, or respected sport, I believe it's called, or it might have changed titles, but most of this is online, so it's a pretty easy process if you're thinking about volunteering.
Yeah, correct. We do a lot of online stuff. We did just finished hosting a Special Olympics coaching course here in Owen Sound last month. And we're hoping that we can do it maybe once a year or twice a year. It's, again, with numbers, it's bringing a person in to be able to run those courses and do it. But it's a great opportunity. And we have great, as I said, Ed is awesome in bringing in volunteers and helping them do it. Barb King is another huge one. And then now our new president, Dennis, he's another great person to be able to get in contact and do that way.
Amazing. Lots of incredible advocates for sure.
No, there certainly is.
We've got less than a minute left, Diane. I guess I'll ask you one more time. How do people reach out and contact Owen Sound Special Olympics?
Look at Owen Sound Special Olympics, go into the Ontario Special Olympics, find Owen Sound, and then just keep following the tabs, and it'll help you get through it. Thank you very much for you guys bringing us on.
Good luck to your athletes in Calgary.
Thank you.
We're going to be cheering them on. We're fingers are crossed for Martin and all of the athletes, and we can't wait to see the medals when they come back.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll certainly bring them back to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. Stay tuned. We'll be chatting next with the Owen Sound Public Library about a special upcoming event. That is next on Grey County Life.
Leonard Thompson, 13 years old, diabetes mellitus, 65 pounds.
Starve the child to let them live. The treatment's as cruel as the disease. It's a death sentence.
Dr. Banting, this could be it. He's the first to receive this trial. But will it save him?
It's not pure enough. So we try again. And again. And again.
Before the discovery of insulin, diabetes was a death sentence. Banting, Best, Collop, and McLeod's breakthrough has saved millions of lives. Leonard Thompson's was the first.
On Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Nico Addy.
And I'm Ethan Burrows. Catch Attack Hockey on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Great County Life. Joining us now in studio to talk about the Owen Sound Memoirs series, we have Lauren Best. Hello.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
We're welcoming you into the studio because, of course, you're here to talk about a very exciting workshop and presentation that is coming up that's going to be held at the Owen Sound Public Library. So tell us about the Memoirs series. What is it for people that aren't familiar?
So the Memoir series has a mission to bring the voices of diverse Canadian memoir authors right here to Owen Sound so that we have nationally recognized names like Ali Hassan coming and gracing us with not only more insights about their writing, about their story, about their experiences in Canada and bringing their story to Canadians, but also about the process of memoir writing and some workshops as well for writers to improve their craft.
Yeah, I know that I have often said when random things happen to me in my life, that'll one day be in my memoirs. Like, I've literally said that. But this will actually show me how to start that memoir writing process, how to take all these weird little stories about my life and actually put it to paper. So tell us about Ali Hassan. So first of all, he is a comedian. He is a host on CBC, I believe, as well.
Yeah, he has his own, he has a couple podcasts. So he's a host both for comedy and also a guest host on other shows. So he's really versatile, and he has background in food as well. So definitely within this book, there's something for everyone. And in conversation with Ali as well, it's really inspiring to learn about his story and about, as a multi-passionate individual, how he's come to explore these things.
Awesome.
I think there's, and it's great that you're doing this series, because I think that there is definitely not as big of a spotlight on Canadian storytellers coming to the forefront. Even if you go to a bookstore, you don't necessarily see them up at the front. You see, the bigger names, and maybe you see some of the celebrities. Like, Tom Hanks's book would probably be up first. I don't even know if he has one. I assume he probably does.
Brittany's memoir.
Brittany's memoir is a very good example. A lot of people bought, read, listened to that one too, right?
Yeah.
But the Canadian stories, it's tough to get them out and get them into people's, in front of their eyes and into their ears. So it's great that you've got something like this.
Absolutely. I'm really enjoying in the process of learning more about Ali's story and now having read his book, it's giving me insights as a Canadian, right, to more of that cross-country perspective. I think Ali's story is especially interesting because he's performed across Canada. He, being a host on CBC and being a comedian, really, working on those stages, I think that it brings a perspective not only from his own life, but also from how he's reached Canadians and people around the world through his comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've both lived across the country, and I think that it's not an easy thing to talk to Canadians. I know Rick Mercer is famous for doing that, but you really have to go to all corners of the country and really meet everybody and actually have conversations with them to really truly understand that they're not all the same. Like, life in Atlantic Canada is a lot different than it is in Yellowknife, and it's a lot different than it is in Alberta. So it's you really have to go and find these authors. If you're not going to be able to live in these places, this is a really good way to learn about them.
And Ali was actually born in Atlantic Canada, and then grew up in Montreal, now lives in Toronto. Right. So, stories we can relate to on a number of different levels. And I think what's really special about this memoir is that it started as a comedy show. It started as a stand-up show, as a solo show. So not only does that mean it's really well tested, I mean, I think for authors, it can go different ways, but I think often with memoirs, right, they write it and then it's brought to the audience. But with this book, all of this was brought out into audiences, and we'll learn more about that process in the workshop with him, about how he went from comedy show to memoir. But I think that's such a cool transformation, going from tested jokes, right, knowing what has resonated with people on stage, and then I'm sure, or I'm guessing based on reading it, that then he was able to go even deeper in turning it into this book, into the memoir.
Yeah, so the memoir series, so it's two parts to this, right? There is the actual reading with Ali Hassan, and that's on the Friday.
So February 2nd at 7 p.m. So tickets are separate. You could do one or the other. I certainly recommend doing both if you have any interest in writing, even if you haven't written a memoir yet.
Right.
Or if you haven't started, that's the perfect time to do it. Or if you're already a seasoned writer. I'm a poet. I wouldn't say I specialize in prose, but I'm attending the workshop and I can't wait to learn from that. So on the Friday night, Ali will be reading from his book. He'll be talking about it, and then I'll be moderating some questions. So we're asking people to submit questions in advance.
Okay.
I have my own questions I'd like to ask.
I was going to say, I'm sure you have some prepared or will have some prepared yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely, but we want to hear from people too. We want people who are coming to feel satisfied, to feel that those burning questions on their mind, that they have a chance to bring those to the event as well.
Awesome. And then the writing workshop is the following day.
Yes, the writing workshop is on Saturday in the afternoon.
Okay.
Perfect. Now, you yourself, you're hosting this. Of course, you're a writer too, and you said a poet as well, and you have a podcast. So let's talk about your work and where we can find what you do. Let's start with your writing. Are there books out there? Have you been published?
Yeah, so I published my first poetry collection last year. I was Owen Sound's Poet Laureate 2017 to 2019. Okay. The tenure was focused on children. I was doing a lot of community engaged arts with that. And it was a bit of a different tone going from being really engaged in community work to publishing this collection of poetry. It's called Just Leaves. And it's available locally at the Ginger Press, but it's also available online at all of your favorite booksellers or directly through me on my website, which is laurenbest.com. And my writing and poetry work is expanding. I'm actually working on a collection of audio poetry with sound art right now. I have a background as a musician, so it's and doing performance poetry. So it's all coming together in this new project, and I'm working on some prose and poetry books as well for the future. Books, it's amazing to say I'm working on books plural, but once you have one, you start thinking what's next and plotting the path forward.
Wow. And your podcast, what's that about?
So I have a podcast with an American saxophonist named Steve Tressler, based out of Seattle, and that's called the Infinite Improvisation Podcast. We teamed up in 2022 to talk all things improvisation, especially music improvisation, but from interdisciplinary perspectives as well. And I have a new podcast coming out this month called Lauren's Best, which is about me and what I've learned in my journey, but not just me, also talking to guests about navigating life as a creative entrepreneur, as an artistic person growing, but reflections on what it really even means to be at our best in life.
Wow.
You sound like you're very, very busy with all of that.
Yeah.
I always love when someone has a means to funnel their creativity, because I've got some creativity. It's hard to find a means to funnel it sometimes, but to hear that you've got all of this going, that's amazing. I want to ask you about, and there's a lot to ask you about there, but the Poet Laureate thing. What is a Poet Laureate? What did they do? What was the day-to-day like as Owen Sound's Poet Laureate? Because I think I saw that job posted recently, and I was like, sounds like something not for me, but you've had it, so tell us what it's about.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the library, there is a call out right now for the next Poet Laureate, and I think it could be a bit different for each person's tenure because there's different poets, different approaches, different focuses. Our current Poet Laureate, Richard E. Satosky, is just winding up his term. So a Poet Laureate is an ambassador of poetry, is in a somewhat official capacity to represent poetry in the city in terms of promoting it, encouraging writers and poets, and encouraging both appreciation of poetry and encouraging creativity and emerging poets. It also can mean interpreting events in current events or cultural aspects within the city, or other themes that are important to the people, and either interpreting them as poems or performing poems related to that. When I was Poet Laureate, I read poetry at City Council and sometimes to open events, doing workshops. So every day is a little different.
Right.
And each poet has a legacy project. So in Owen Sound, we are so lucky to have had such a diverse range of poets laureate. And each poet laureate has done a legacy project. In some cases, we've had a team of poets laureate together. And so each of those poets laureate had a legacy project that remains in some way, that lasts in the community as a mark from their tenure.
Amazing.
Well, you mentioned Richard is the current one. I should probably mention too, Richard has a show that he hosts here called Our Story, which runs on Tuesday nights on Rogers TV. So if you'd like to see the current and I guess soon outgoing poet laureate for Owen Sound, you can catch Richard on that show on Tuesdays on Rogers TV. Going back to the writer series, now you said you've got one coming up in May that's confirmed. You guys are working on booking a few more in between. If people want to keep up to date with this, you mentioned there's a newsletter?
Yeah, so you can go to the Owen Sound Memoir series website. Definitely sign up for the newsletter. So and that way you'll be the first to know. There's also a Facebook page and Instagram for the Owen Sound Memoir series. And I'm really even before the event started, because I just really love this book so much.
Right.
The fact that I got to read this book because of this series, because I wouldn't have. And I mean, I'm sorry, Allie, maybe one day I would have, it really would have been my loss, but I'm so glad that I did. So there'll be more authors coming down the pipe and coming here to Owen Sound.
Amazing. I'm just curious, how did you get involved with writing? Like, were you always writing as a kid, like growing up? And like, are you from Owen Sound, born and raised here? Like, what's sort of your background?
So I did grow up in Owen Sound. I moved here when I was 9.
Okay.
But I still say I was from here because before that, you aren't out and about very much, right?
Gotcha.
So I grew up here, went to high school here, left and lived in the big city, lived in Toronto for 8 years, and then came back. This is where I wanted to be, to raise kids and to enjoy all the wonderful things that the area has to offer.
Right.
I did write as a kid.
Okay.
But I didn't necessarily consider myself a writer.
Right.
Until later. I wrote songs. I considered myself a songwriter. I was performing as a singer-songwriter and doing arts facilitation and music education and really interdisciplinary approaches to the arts. But I was less focused on writing and on poetry for close to a decade, because I saw writing as something that was leading to songs. Right, as something on the way to songwriting. I was still writing poems, but I wasn't thinking, oh, of course, now I share this poem. This is a gift to the world. I was thinking, oh, this either becomes a song or it dies here on the page.
Right.
Or that, writing for other purposes, like for media or for theater or things like that. Yeah. And especially being poet laureate really renewed my appreciation for my own process and craft as a writer, as a poet, and really solidified the decision to dive back into a writing first approach, where I take more time and dig into that aspect of the creative process, as well as the other media creation aspects too. That's really exciting to me still, obviously. But I think especially seeing the power of poetry in the community, right? The simplicity of working with people's imaginations and with words, and seeing the power of that for others helped me dig in even more deeply for myself.
Wow.
And I mean, Owen Sound, I'm guessing part of the reason why you came back, it is a great place to raise a family, but the art scene here is thriving. So if you are looking for inspiration, I mean, if you couldn't find it here, I mean, you would have gone somewhere else. You might have stayed in the big city, but here in this community, between what they do at the library, between what they do at the Roxy Theater, between all this smaller underground stuff that's happening, it's a pretty amazing place.
And events like the Memoir series, I think, are so central to that, especially bringing voices that otherwise we may not hear live in Owen Sound, and creating opportunities both for expanding our perspective, expanding our appreciation. Of course, memoir can be many different things, and I think it's so cool that this is starting with someone who brings in elements of his experience with passion for food and passion for stand-up comedy and passion for writing, and that we get to learn and grow from all that, especially with having the workshop as well. And I hope that people from the area who don't necessarily live in Owen Sound, but people from the surrounding area can gather at this event, at other writing events too. But I think that the memoir series, by continuing to have these events, we're building community around that, so that as writers and as people who appreciate writing, even if you don't yet consider yourself a writer, that we can gather and build and support not only the authors that are gracing us with their presence and their wisdom and their humor, but so that we can support each other in our development and build up our community, so that we can continue to have that kind of thriving interdisciplinary culture of bringing up new artists and new writers.
Yeah, that is definitely something that I'm born and raised here in Owen Sound. I'm a local, and that is definitely something I've, experienced growing up, was that there was so much support for one another in the different, in the different types of arts. Like, I was in a choir growing up, and we were a huge choir, and whenever we would have a show, the place would be packed. Right, people would show up to support, and I was involved with the Roxy, same thing. There would be packed theaters, and there's just so much support for all the different avenues of art, and whether it be people going to the Tom Thompson Gallery, people going to the Gray Gallery, people going into the Center for the Arts, which is downtown now too, and it's awesome how much support there is and how much interest there is in getting involved with the arts, and part of that being writers. And we do have some very talented writers in our midst, and so being able to highlight some of those writers and have them be part of the workshops and bring them in, and I think that's really cool.
All right, well, we've got about 2 minutes left, so Lauren, I'll leave you with the last word. When is Ali coming? How do people get the tickets to see him? And why is the book awesome?
Absolutely. So it's February 2nd and 3rd. You can buy your tickets online at owensoundmemoirseries.com. Of course, don't forget to also follow them on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow me too, because we're going to be talking about it leading up to that. Subscribe to the newsletter so you find out about the next authors as well. And this book had me laughing from the first page. It was great. And I think any book that can be that kind of companion that lifts you up a bit, right? I was looking forward to coming back to this and reading it each time. That could happen with a drama too, but it wasn't just because of that. As much as the story in it is great and I wanted to find out what was happening next, it was the charm and good humor that Ali had.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
I did it. I need it.
A hero gave it.
And I am alive.
As an organ donor, you can save up to 8 lives and enhance the lives of 75 others. Please go to our website. Pledge a gift of life. You'll be glad you did.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nick Kennedy, the host of Attack Rap. Make sure you tune in on Rogers TV for this next episode of Attack Rap. We've got Servac Petrovsky, we've got James Petrovsky, and we've got Antonio Tersini coming on the show. So make sure you tune in here on Rogers TV.
I'm Carol Merton. Please join me for HealthLink, a program connecting home, community, and healthcare. Please join me and watch HealthLink on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Grey County Life, where clearly this is our least favorite part of the show.
I'm miserable. It's so sad. We're unhappy.
Renee is joining us from the Owen Sound Animal Shelter.
It's not even me they care about.
We love to see Renee.
We do.
Also, it's okay. I understand. I mean, who doesn't love this puppy? These are 2 of 6 that we have at the animal shelter. 6 is just too many. They're too heavy, they're too much to bring, and I can't hold them all. So you just have to imagine another 4 that look exactly like these, right?
They are
we look
two representatives.
We look exactly the same.
Of the litter.
Their mother was an English Mastiff, hello, and their daddy was a Black Lab. So we know exactly what we've got. We've got really big squishy labs, which this is what we've made. They are giant. Sorry, it's okay to be giant. At this point,
these are big puppies.
They are probably over 20 pounds and only 9 weeks of age. So a lot of the smaller dogs only grow to be this big. So you've got a really good start on things, don't you? Yeah. Mom, the English Mastiff, was apparently 120 pounds. So yeah, think big. In saying that, keep in mind with big, we've got a lot of big dog things that cost a little bit more. For example, the food is going to be significant. Yeah, you are. You like to eat, especially right now. Thank you so much. It's not that significant.
So
we all
hungry.
eat, right? We all eat. Hi, thank you so much. Additionally, you know, your vet expenses are going to be a little higher, especially for the spay, because they are going to be big.
And they're all ladies.
And they're all girls. Hello, thank you so much. And their, you know, poops are going to be a little bigger, and you're going to need a bigger crate and all of those sort of things. But there are certainly some advantages to these bigger dogs. Number one, they're usually a quieter dog. Sometimes that's what we want, which is great. The Labs and the Mastiffs are very loyal, family-loving dogs. They're very easy to train, super smart. I mean, in saying that, they could run the potential of being smarter than their people. We don't want that. We don't want that. But an easy dog to fit just about anywhere. Oh, and they're so snuggly right now.
They're so snuggly.
You're sad you don't have one now, I'm telling you.
Everyone needs a snuggle puppy.
They're super snuggly, right? They have been raised with a family who spent some time with them, so they've had some socialization, and they've been at the shelter for about a week. So they've had their vaccines, they're deworming, they've been defleed, they are learning to go to the bathroom outside. It's been odd weather for that. And I mean, let me tell you, getting 7, 8 puppies outside in a snowstorm is not easy, but we're getting there. They are learning, and they have learned to settle well in a crate, which the process is going to be a little bit easier for somebody to do that, which we, of course, encourage, because that makes things better, doesn't it? Right? Because you're going to be big enough to eat the couch. You are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You will eat your couch.
You are. These would be a great addition if you have children and you've been looking for a large breed dog. We always recommend puppies in those cases, because big dogs and kids got to get along. It's super important. So if you're a big dog lover, oh my gosh, that's so darn cute. You want to give us a call for sure.
Yeah,
now,
the one you've got is working the camera really well.
You're doing a great job.
Mine's just trying to go to sleep.
Yeah, just hiding. I have chosen the right puppy.
Look at her. Oh my gosh, look at her face. Oh,
it's so cute. What are you looking at over there? So you're the smart one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Renee,
They're so cute.
I'll ask you a serious question.
Okay.
Then. Large breeds sometimes have shorter life expectancies. What would it be like for a Mastiff Lab mix? Is this going to be a 15-year dog? Or?
Well, you've got an advantage in that they're not purebreds. The purebred large breed dogs, I mean, an English Mastiff, for example, purebred would probably get to be 8 or 9 at the most. At this point, you easily are getting 13, 14, 15 years. So the mix is going to make that a little bit easier. You also won't have to worry about things like hips, which you would with a purebred lab. You're not going to have to worry so much about skin conditions, which you get with the mastiffs, with the being a mix. So in a way, you've sort of got the best of both worlds, which is one of the advantages to taking a mixed breed, for sure, right? For sure. We don't have to deal with those genetic things.
Yeah, they
quite
definitely
so badly.
have the lab face and the lab ears, but more
They
of a
got all
mastiff.
this extra
There's
skin.
so much extra fur. There's so much.
Oh, there's
But they
extra
definitely have the
puppy
build of
in
the
here.
mastiff,
Look
for
at
sure.
this.
And like, look at the size of the paws.
Seriously.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm sorry. Oh gosh, you're a good snuggler.
Yeah.
There will be a little less drool. Hopefully, they don't have the big mastiff lips. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
Unless you have peanut butter.
Well, that changes
the drool just immediately
everything.
starts. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you got excited about it. You did a little squeak.
Yeah.
You did a little squeak.
Oh my gosh, this one is just sleeping. This one's sleeping.
Is there any lab tips as a lab owner?
Oh goodness. Exercise. Exercise. Honestly, because I've got 2 labs and the energy that comes out of these things is just crazy. So we're walking all the time. We're going to parks. We're letting them run because they will destroy your furniture. We have a hole in our couch.
They make their own fun.
Yeah. Also, throw pillows. We don't have any because they love to pick those up and take them around, and then they fight over them and they get ripped and things like that. So also keep your shoes up.
Yeah.
Because they like to chew shoes, especially if they're like expensive ones.
Would you do that?
They really like the expensive ones. They're not going to chew on the $20 flip-flops. No, they're going to chew on the $150 Birkenstocks.
They have expensive tastes.
They do. They do. But they're so fun and so loving, and they would be, as Renee said, a great addition to just about anywhere. But obviously, you have to be prepared for the expense and the time that you need to put in, and of course, be prepared to have a really hard time leaving to go to work because you don't want to leave them. Look at this face.
Yeah.
Look at this face. I wouldn't want to leave this face.
Make a sad face.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
maybe you could work from home. I don't know. I'm still trying to convince Ryan to help me be a stay-at-home dog mom.
Yeah.
And I've been trying for 4 years and it still hasn't.
It's not working.
He's not biting. No.
Not working.
But I said it's for the dogs. It's for their well-being.
Absolutely. Well, sometimes it's when you get an more active dog, it's an excuse to force us to go outside and do stuff. I know that's something that we've been telling people. I know it's miserable weather most days and we don't really feel like it, but these girls are going to make you do that. They're going to make you go out, and as they get older and start to do all those fun dog things like swimming and running and all of that, it's a good time to force you to get out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do it.
It definitely, especially if say 2024 resolution is to get more exercise, they will help you. They will help you with that. They will go out as often as you want to go out. They'll go out with you every time you want to go out.
We should name you Motivation, but Sarah already gave you a name, though.
I did. I named this one Annabelle, and then the one that Renee has is Mariah.
We're going to have to try to keep track of
You don't have to keep those names, but that's just my suggestion. Now, if you are interested in meeting either these girls or their sisters that are all waiting for forever homes, definitely call Renee at 519-372-1123 at the Owen Sound Animal Shelter. You can also find them on Facebook and reach out there as well. Thank you so much, Renee. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. So cute.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Our family used to be so fun. Now my brother takes care of me. I miss Mom and Dad being around more. Mom says things are going to get better.
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability, and the tools to determine if drivers are impaired by legal or illegal drugs. And because drug-impaired drivers can pose just as great a